Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Before we begin, let me know, where are you watching from and what time is it there right now? I really enjoy reading those comments. Just so you know, this story slowly builds. The longer you listen, the more uncomfortable it becomes, especially near the end. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, liking the video and subscribing really helps me keep making more. All right, let's begin.
I don't tell this story at truck stops. I don't tell it to new drivers who still think the road is a freedom thing, or two old hands who laugh off anything they can't log or invoice. I'm telling it now because enough years have passed that I can finally say it without my hands shaking, and because I know I wasn't the only one. I was hauling steel, coils from western Pennsylvania down to a fabrication plant in Alabama. Heavy load, flatbed, chains humming with every bump. Late January, when winter hasn't decided whether to loosen its grip yet. I left the yard later than planned, close to 8 p.m., and knew I'd be driving through the night no matter what. That didn't bother me. Nights were my best hours. Fewer cars, less noise, just the road and the engine talking back and forth. The first few hours were smooth. I crossed into West Virginia a little after midnight. Mountains rising on either side, highway narrowing into long, slow curves. Snow still clung to the trees, glowing faintly under my headlights. Beautiful in a lonely kind of way. That's when I noticed my CB was already on channel 19. Volume low, but not off. I don't remember turning it on. I reached to adjust. I turned, stopped, because someone was breathing into it, not speaking, just breathing, slow, steady, close enough that I could hear moisture in their throat. "Hello," I said, keeping my voice light. The breathing stopped. Static rushed in, then faded back to silence. I stared at the radio longer than I meant to, then shook it off. Old equipment does weird things. Condensation, loose wiring. Nothing worth getting worked up over. 10 minutes later, I saw taillights ahead. Another truck. I felt relief right away. Mountain roads feel different when you're truly alone. I eased up behind him, keeping my distance. He was moving slow but steady, well within reason for the grade. His trailer was a dry van. No markings I could see. No reflective logo, which was odd but not unheard of. I flicked my brights once. A friendly signal. He didn't respond. The CB crackled. "You can stay back there." The voice was calm, male, older. Sounded like someone who'd been doing this longer than me, just passing through. I replied, "No rush." A pause. "Good," he said. Rushing causes mistakes. Something about the way he said it made my shoulders tense. Like he wasn't making conversations, stating policy. We drove like that for a while. Curves, long uphill pulls, occasional runaway truck ramps sliding past in the dark. I noticed something strange about the road. The mile markers weren't counting down, they weren't counting up. Either I passed the same number twice. I leaned forward, squinting, then checked my GPS. It showed progress. Speed, normal. Route correct. I told myself the markers were placed wrong. Old roads, old mistakes. The CB clicked again. "You'll want to keep an eye on those," the driver ahead said. "On what?" "The signs," he replied. "They tell you where you are." "I know where I am." Another pause. "No," he said gently. "You know where you think you are." The road dipped sharply, then leveled out. That's when I saw the truck on the shoulder, hazards flashing. Hood up, trailer tilted slightly toward the ditch. I slowed instinctively, scanning for movement. The cab door was open. No one stood. Outside, no footprints in the snow. Felt a cold knot form low in my stomach. The truck ahead slowed. "Two, don't stop," his voice came over the CB. "Not yet. Guy might need help." I said. "He already had help," the voice replied. "It just didn't work out." We passed the broken down truck, as my headlights swept across the cab. I saw something that made my breath catch. The driver's seat was empty, but the seatbelt was buckled. I looked away fast. The truck ahead picked up speed. I followed, heart pounding now, mind racing for explanations that didn't stick. "Listen," I said into the CB. "That truck back there, something's wrong." "Yes," he agreed. "That's why it stopped." "Where's the driver?" Another pause. "Still here," he said. "Just not driving anymore." I swallowed. "What does that mean?" "It means," he said, "he got tired." The road began to feel narrower. Trees leaned closer. Snowbanks rose higher, reflecting light back into my cab until everything felt boxed in. My dash clock blinked. 12:17, M. It blinked again. 12:17 a.m. I frowned and tapped it. It corrected to 12:18, then drifted back to 12:17. My fuel gauge dipped suddenly, dropping a quarter tank in seconds. "That's not right," I muttered. The CB crackled. "Machines struggle here," the voice said. "They don't like waiting." "Waiting for what?" I asked. "For you to make a choice." The truck ahead slowed again. I felt panic rising now, sharp and undeniable. "Pull over," he said. "No," I replied. "I'm not stopping on this road." "You will," he said. "One way or another." He stopped, dead in the lane. I slammed the brakes and stopped short. Chains clanking as the load shifted. Snow fell softly around us. No wind, no sound but my engine idling. The driver's door of the truck ahead opened. A man climbed down. He was tall, broad, heavy coat zipped to the chin. No reflective vest, no hat. He moved carefully, like his joints were stiff. He walked back toward my cab. I locked my doors. He stopped just outside my headlights, face still hidden. "You missed your exit," he said. "There hasn't been an exit for miles." I replied. "That's because you didn't take it," he said. "I don't even know where it was." He nodded. "Most don't." He leaned closer to my hood. "You passed the truck on the shoulder," he continued. "That was your warning." "I don't stop for strangers at night," I said. He smiled faintly. I could see it now. Thin, practiced. "That's how we get them," he said. "The ones who always keep going." "Get who?" I asked the replacements. My throat went dry. "What happened to the driver back there?" I asked quietly. He glanced over his shoulder, toward the dark stretch of road behind us. "He waited too long," he said. "Engine cooled. Body followed." "You're saying he died?" The man shook his head. "No, he stayed." The CB crackled. "You don't have to stay long," the voice from the cab said. "Just until the next one comes through." "I'm not staying," I said, voice shaking now. "You can't make me." The man reached out and placed his hand on my hood. It was bare, no gloves, snow-touched. His skin and didn't melt. The engine sputtered. Once, twice, then smoothed out again. "You feel that?" he asked. "That's the road testing you." I leaned forward and laid on the horn. The sound burst out, then cut off mid, like someone had slammed a door on it. Silence rushed in. The man stepped back. The truck ahead rolled forward, hazards flashing once before going dark. "Follow," the voice said. I didn't think. I threw the truck into gear and followed, heart pounding so hard it hurt. We drove for what felt like hours, but my clock barely moved. The same curve appeared again. The same leaning pine on the right. The same cracked guardrail. A loop. "You can't outrun it," the voice said calmly. "Everyone tries. What do you want from me?" I shouted. "Someone has to watch the road," he replied. "Make sure traffic flows correctly." "I have a family," I said. "So did the last one," he replied. No cruelty, just fact. Something snapped in me. I swung into the oncoming lane and floored it as I passed the truck. I glanced into the cab. No one was inside. No driver. No seatbelt. Just an open logbook on the seat. The CB screamed with static. "You weren't supposed to do that." The road ahead opened suddenly. Wider, straighter, familiar signs. My GPS recalculated violently, then settled. I didn't slow. I didn't breathe. I drove until dawn burned the dark away. At the first way station, I pulled in, shaking, and shut down. They found nothing wrong with my truck. No log issues. No mechanical faults. But when I unchained the load later that morning, I found something carved into the steel coil, deep enough that it couldn't have happened on the road. Stay a while. I quit over-the-road trucking 3 months later. Sometimes, late at night, when traffic thins and the road feels too quiet, my CB will click on by itself. I hear breathing, I turn it off, because I know some drivers don't make it home. They just pull over one night and keep the road moving. I've been driving trucks long enough to know that fear doesn't usually come from sudden moments. It comes from noticing something small that doesn't fit and realizing, slowly, that it never fixes itself. This happened on a winter run I still don't talk about unless someone really presses me. I was hauling frozen meat from eastern Montana down toward Wyoming. Night delivery window, light traffic, good pay. The kind of run most drivers liked because it was quiet and straightforward. I'd fueled up, checked my logs, and rolled out just after 9 p.m. Snow had fallen earlier in the day, but the plows had cleared the highway. Cold, clear, stars sharp enough to look fake. The first few hours were uneventful. Radio low, engine steady. The road stretched ahead like a black ribbon. Sometime after midnight, I noticed my mirrors felt wrong, not broken, not misaligned, just wrong. Every time I checked them, I had the feeling I was catching something just after it moved. Like when you turn your head too late and miss a gesture. I adjusted them twice, then told myself I was tired and forced myself to focus on the road. About 20 miles later, I passed a mile marker, then another, then the same one again. I slowed, leaning forward, heart thumping. The number was identical. Same dent in the post. Same scuff of snow at the base. "That's not possible," I muttered. I checked my GPS. It showed me moving. Speed steady. Route correct. I passed the marker again. I didn't turn around. I didn't stop. I told myself it was a maintenance error, duplicate signs, anything. But the road ahead started to feel stretched. like distance wasn't behaving the way it should. Then I saw TAILLIGHTS, another truck, far ahead, moving slow. Relief hit me immediately. I eased up behind him, grateful for the company. He was old, box trailer, no company markings, hazard lights off, speed about 5 under. I flipped on my CB, evening driver, nothing. I stayed behind him anyway. The road narrowed slightly, trees closing in on both sides. Snowbanks rose higher, reflecting my headlights back at me after a few miles. I noticed something strange. The truck ahead wasn't throwing any road spray. The pavement was damp. My tires hissed softly. His didn't. I leaned forward, squinting. His trailer didn't reflect light properly. The edges blurred at the corners, like my eyes couldn't quite focus on it. The CB crackled. "You don't need to ride so close." I nearly jumped out of my seat. "Sorry," I said quickly. "Didn't mean you shouldn't be here yet," the voice continued. The tone wasn't angry, just corrective, like a supervisor pointing out a mistake. "Yet?" I asked. He didn't answer. The truck slowed. I tapped my brakes, keeping distance. "What's going on up there?" "We're waiting," he said. "For what?" "For you to decide." The road ahead dipped slightly. My headlights caught something on the shoulder. A parked truck. Hazards, blinking dot, hood up. Driver's door open. My stomach dropped as we passed. I glanced over. The cab was empty. No footprints in the snow. No movement. Engine off. The truck ahead slowed further. "Don't look at it too long," the voice said. "That's how it notices you." My hands tightened on the wheel. "What notices me?" He sighed. "You really don't remember, do you?" The truck ahead stopped, right in the lane. I stopped too, breathing hard. Trees boxed us in. No shoulder wide enough to pass. The driver's door of the truck ahead opened. A man climbed down slowly, tall, broad shoulders. Heavy coat pulled tight. No hat, even in the cold. He walked back toward my cab. I locked my doors. He stopped just outside my headlights, face still hidden in shadow. "You missed your plough," he said. "I don't have a plough here," I replied. "You do tonight." "I'm not stopping," I said. "I'll sit here until morning if I have to." "There is no morning on this stretch," he said calmly. He stepped closer. I noticed his boots didn't leave prints. "You're early," he continued. "That happens sometimes. Usually they're tired, distracted." "I want to leave," I said. He nodded. "Everyone does." The CB crackled again, even though I hadn't touched it. "You can go," the voice said, "but someone has to stay." The man reached out and tapped my hood once. The sound echoed too long. My engine sputtered. Once, twice, then steadied. "You feel that?" he asked. "That's the road deciding." I slammed the horn. The sound cut off halfway through the blast, like someone had grabbed it out of the air. The man stepped back. The truck ahead rolled forward, hazards flashing once before going dark. I didn't hesitate. I hit the gas and followed, heart pounding. We drove for what felt like hours, but my clock barely moved. The same curves repeated, the same snowbank, the same leaning tree on the right side of the road. Finally, I snapped. I passed him. I swung into the oncoming lane and floored it, engine screaming. As I pulled alongside, I glanced into his cab. It was empty, no driver, no seatbelt, no movement. The CB crackled. You weren't supposed to do that. The road ahead opened suddenly, wide, clear, familiar signage. I didn't slow. I didn't breathe. I drove until the sky began to lighten, until my hands cramped from gripping the wheel. When I finally pulled into a truck stop at sunrise, my whole body shook. I checked my trailer, seal intact, load untouched, but carved into the frost on the inside of my windshield letters, traced from the outside, were 3 words. You were warned. I quit that route the same day, every now and then. Late at night, when I'm driving and the road goes quiet in that exact way, my CB will click on by itself. I don't answer. I keep driving because I know some roads don't want everyone to leave, and I know how close I came to becoming the truck on the shoulder, waiting for the next driver to slow down. I've hauled freight through almost every kind of night you can imagine. Snowstorms that erase the road, summer heat that makes the air shimmer, fog so thick it feels like you're driving into cotton. After a while, none of it scares you anymore. You learn patterns. You learn what's normal. This story is about the one night that broke that confidence. It happened 6 years ago, back when I was still doing coast-to-coast runs. I was hauling consumer electronics from Northern California to a distribution hub in Nevada. High-value load, sealed trailer, no stops longer than fuel and bathroom breaks. The company tracked the truck, the trailer, even the door seals. Everything was supposed to be predictable. I left Sacramento just before dusk. Traffic thinned fast once I hit the mountain stretches. By the time the sky went fully dark, I was alone on a long 2-lane highway cutting through forest and rock. Snow lined the shoulders but hadn't hit the road yet. The kind of cold that feels clean and sharp about an hour in. I noticed my headlights kept catching movement just beyond the tree line. Not animals crossing, more like something pacing the road, always just outside the beam. Every time I turned my head, there was nothing there. I blamed fatigue and rolled the window down to let cold air wake me up. That's when I realized how quiet it was. No wind, no distant engines. Even my tires sounded muted, like the road was absorbing the noise instead of reflecting it back. I checked my mirrors. Nothing behind me for miles. Then I saw brake lights ahead. A truck sat stopped in the middle of the road, hazard lights flashing slowly. No shoulder, trees pressed close on both sides. I braked hard and stopped a safe distance back. I waited for the driver to move. Nothing. I flipped on my CB. You all right up there? Static. I tried again. Driver, in front, you blocking the road. Still nothing. I got that uneasy feeling, the one you're supposed to listen to, but I ignored it. I figured maybe he'd stalled or hit ice. I decided to go around as I eased into the oncoming lane. My headlights swept across the side of his trailer. It was empty, no company name, no dot numbers, no reflective tape, just dull, grey metal like it had never been marked at all. I didn't slow. I passed him and merged back in, heart beating faster than it should have been. 10 seconds later, my CB crackled. Don't go ahead of me. The voice was low and calm, like the speaker wasn't angry, just disappointed. I grabbed the mic. You can't stop in the road, man. You almost caused a wreck. A pause. Then, this road works better one truck at a time. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the weather. I'm not stopping. I said. You already did, he replied. I checked my speedometer. 0. My stomach dropped. The engine was running. The tach was normal. My foot was on the gas, but the truck wasn't moving. I slammed the brake, then the accelerator. Nothing. The headlights still lit the road ahead, frozen in place. "You need to stay where you are," the voice said. "Keeps things in order." I turned the wheel. The tires didn't respond. Panic crawled up my spine. "What did you do?" "Nothing," he said. "You just reached the wrong stretch at the wrong time." The hazard lights of the truck behind me clicked off. I heard a door open, footsteps crunched slowly on gravel. I stared at my mirrors, breathing shallow. A man walked toward my cab from behind. Tall, heavy jacket, no flashlight. His face stayed just outside the reach of my side mirror, like he knew exactly where to stand. "You hauling something expensive," he said. Voice suddenly right outside my window. "That's none of your business," I replied. "It is tonight," he said. "These loads matter." I locked the doors, even though I was pretty sure they already were. "You can't do this," I said. "I'm tracked. People know where I am." He chuckled softly. "They know where you were." He stepped back. My truck lurched forward suddenly, almost throwing me into the wheel. I hit the gas hard and took off, tires screaming. I didn't look back. The road curved sharply, then straightened. My speed climbed. The engine felt normal again. I laughed out loud, shaky and breathless. Then I noticed the sign, same mile marker. I passed it again and again, the same bend, the same snowbank, the same cracked reflector on the right side. I was stuck in a loop. The CB clicked on. "You can keep driving," the voice said. "Most do. Eventually they realize it doesn't change anything." "What do you want from me?" I shouted. "Balance," he replied. "Too many trucks come through here. Too much movement. Someone has to stay." The road ahead was blocked again. Same truck. Same hazards. I stopped, shaking. The man stepped out again, this time carrying something. "A clipboard. You're early," he said, glancing at it. "But that happens." "I'm not staying here," I said. "I'll sit in the truck until morning if I have to." "There is no morning here," he said simply. He walked to my trailer and ran his hand along the seal. "You ever wonder why some loads go missing?" he asked. "No wrecks. No theft. Just gone." My blood went cold. "What are you talking about?" "Sometimes the road keeps them," he said. "Sometimes it keeps the driver." He knocked on the trailer door once. The sound echoed to Long Dot from inside the trailer. Something knocked back. I froze. Another knock. "Slower this time." "That's not possible," I whispered. "You'd be surprised what fits in a sealed box," he said. The knocking continued, steady and patient. "You don't have to die," he said. "You just have to stop delivering." The cab lights flickered. My engine sputtered. I thought about my family, about the life waiting for me beyond this stretch of road. I slammed my hand down on the horn. The sound burst through the night, loud and real. The knocking stopped. The man stepped back, eyes narrowing. My truck lurched forward again, harder this time. I floored it, tearing past his rig, past the trees, past the bend. The road finally changed. New signs, new markers. My GPS snapped back to life, recalculating like nothing had ever been wrong. I didn't stop until sunrise, when I finally checked the trailer seal at the depot. It was intact, but carved into the inside of the trailer door deep enough that I couldn't explain how. I'd missed it before with 4 words. one truck at a time. I quit long haul that year. Sometimes, late at night, I still dream of that road. Of sitting perfectly still while the engine runs. Of hearing a knock from inside a place that's supposed to be empty. And every time I pass a truck, stopped, alone on a dark stretch of highway, I feel the urge to slow down. I never do, because I'm not sure the road would let me leave twice. I'd been a trucker long enough to know that the road has moods. Some nights feel open and forgiving. Others feel tight, like you're moving through a place that doesn't want you there. You learn to trust that feeling, even when you can't explain it. Most of the time, it keeps you alive. The night this happened, I ignored it. I was hauling livestock feed from central Texas up into western Kansas. Dry bulk trailer. Nothing hazardous, nothing rushed. Early March, cold snaps still hanging around longer than they should. I left the yard later than I liked because of a loading delay. And by the time I cleared the last stretch of highway lights, it was close to 1 a.m. The route cut through a patchwork of farm roads and state highways. Flat land, open fields, the kind of darkness that feels wide instead of deep. I liked that kind of driving. You can see trouble coming. That night though, the dark felt wrong. Heavy, like it was pressing inward instead of stretching out. About 40 miles in, I noticed something small but strange. My dash clock was running slow. Not by much. A minute here, 2 minutes there. I tapped it, thinking it was glitching. It corrected itself, then drifted again. I told myself it was nothing. A few miles later, I passed a sign warning of cattle crossings. Nothing unusual in that area. I slowed a bit, scanned the shoulders. That's when I saw the man. He stood just beyond the beam of my headlights, right at the edge of the road. No flashlight, no reflective gear, just a figure standing perfectly still, facing the highway. I braked hard enough to feel the trailer tug. As I rolled past, I turned my head. He didn't move, didn't wave, didn't step back, just watched me go by. I checked my mirrors. He vanished into the dark almost immediately. My heart took a minute to settle. People do stupid things on rural roads all the time. Drunk, lost, desperate. I told myself he'd wandered off once he realized a semi wasn't stopping. I didn't stop. 10 minutes later, I saw taillights ahead. Another truck. That was a relief. You don't realize how tense you are until you see someone else out there with you. I eased up behind him, keeping a safe distance. He was moving slow, about 5 under. No problem, I flipped on my CB evening, I said. Road's quiet tonight. Nothing. I tried again. You hear me, driver? Static, not the normal hiss. Just a low, flat sound, like air moving through a long pipe. I stayed behind him anyway. Sometimes, guys don't want to talk. After a few miles, I noticed something odd about his trailer. No markings. No license plate light. It was there, physically, but the details didn't catch the light the way they should have. I started to feel the tightness in my chest again. The CB clicked on. You shouldn't have passed. Him, the voice was calm, older, tired sounding. Past who? I asked. A pause. Then, you know who? I swallowed. If you're talking about the guy on the road, I didn't stop. That's not safe. Another pause, longer this time. He was waiting, the voice said. For what? For someone to take his place. My grip tightened on the wheel. You messing with me? No, he said. I'm warning you." The truck ahead of me slowed. I tapped my brakes. "What are you doing?" "Giving you time," the voice replied. The truck rolled to a stop in the middle of the road. I stopped too, heart hammering. No shoulders, just open fields and darkness. I leaned forward, squinting at his trailer. Something was scratched into the metal, barely visible until my headlights hit it just right. "Do not leave the road." "What the hell is this?" I said into the CB. "You're off schedule," he replied. "That causes problems." The driver's door of the truck ahead opened. A man stepped down slowly. Same posture as the one I'd seen earlier. Same stillness. He walked back toward me. I locked my doors. "Get back in your truck," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm calling this in." "You can't," he said. "There's no one listening." He stopped a few feet from my hood, standing in the dead space between our lights. I couldn't see his face clearly. It was there, but my eyes slid off it, like my brain didn't want to fill in the details. "You missed your stop," he said. "I don't have a stop here." "You do now." I laid on the horn. The sound cut off instantly, not faded. Gone. My dashboard lights dimmed, then brightened again. The engine idled rough. "Listen," I said, breath coming fast. "I don't know what this is, but I'm not doing it." He tilted his head slightly. "That's what the last one said." "The last what?" "The last driver who kept going." He stepped back. The truck ahead started moving again. Relief hit me so hard it made me dizzy. I followed, keeping more distance this time, eyes locked on the road. We drove another 20 minutes without a word. Then the road changed. It narrowed. The pavement cracked. My GPS showed a straight line, but the road curved gently left, then right, like it was avoiding something. I glanced at my fuel gauge. It had dropped to near empty. That wasn't possible. I'd fueled less than 3 hours earlier. The CB clicked. "You'll want to pull over soon," the voice said. "No," I replied. "I'll make the next town." "There is no next town," he said. "Not for you." My engine sputtered. Once, twice, then it died. I coasted to the side of the road, hazards flashing on automatically. The truck ahead kept going. I slammed the steering wheel, panic clawing up my throat. I turned the key. Nothing. The cold settled in immediately. The silence felt thick, like it had weight. I sat there, breathing hard, watching the dark footsteps crunched on gravel behind me. I didn't look. The CB crackled. "You see how this works now," the voice said. "Someone stops. Someone goes." The footsteps came closer. I glanced in my side mirror. The man stood there, hands at his sides, looking at my cab like it belonged to him already. "You don't have to die," he said. "You just have to stay." "Stay where?" I asked. "Here," he replied, "until someone else passes." My mouth went dry. "You'll warn them," he continued. "They won't listen. They never do." The engine coughed once, then started. I didn't think. I threw it into gear and pulled back onto the road, tires sliding. The man didn't chase. The road widened. The lines brightened. My phone buzzed as signal returned. I laughed and cried at the same time. I drove until sunrise without stopping. I never took that route again. A month later, I heard about a driver found dead in his cab on a rural Texas highway. No signs of struggle. Engine cold. Door unlocked. They said it looked like he'd just stopped every now and then, late at night, when I'm driving and the road goes quiet in that specific way. My CB will click on. I don't touch it anymore because I know what happens when someone answers, and I know what happens when someone doesn't stop. I never planned on becoming a truck driver. It just sort of happened after a factory job fell apart and a friend said there was always work if you didn't mind the road. Turns out I didn't mind it at all. The quiet suited me. Nights especially. When you're alone in a cab at 2 in the morning, the world feels smaller and more honest. No one watching. No one expecting anything. That's what I liked most about it, which is probably why what happened still bothers me more than anything else I've ever lived through. This was about 4 years ago. I was hauling auto parts from northern Ohio down into Tennessee. Nothing urgent, no tight delivery window. Late winter, the kind of cold that makes the air feel sharp in your lungs. I'd been driving since early afternoon and planned to shut down somewhere south of Cincinnati around midnight. Traffic thinned out completely. The interstate felt abandoned. Just me, the lines on the road, and the low hum of the engine. I turned the radio down and cracked the window a little to stay alert. Cold air helped start about 20 miles past the last rest area. I saw flashing amber lights ahead at first. I thought it was a construction zone, but as I got closer, I realized it was a single truck pulled over on the shoulder. Hazard lights on. Hood up. No cones. No flares. I slowed automatically. You do that without thinking when you've been driving long enough. You watch for people stepping out, debris in the lane. As I passed, I glanced over. The cab door was open. No one stood outside. No movement. Just the hood up, engine still running, lights blinking steadily in the dark. I kept going. A mile later, my CB crackled. "Hey, driver. You just passed me." I hesitated, then grabbed the mic. "Yeah, saw you on the shoulder." "Everything okay?" Static for a moment. Then, "Need a hand?" His voice was calm. Too calm for someone broken down on the side of the interstate after midnight in winter. "State Patrol on the way." I asked. "No signal out here," he said. "Truck won't shut off. Won't move either." I looked at my mirrors. Empty road behind me. No headlights. "You got triangles?" I asked. Another pause. Didn't bring M. That made no sense. Every driver carries triangles. It's not optional. I told myself maybe he was new. Maybe just rattled. "There's a rest area about 15 miles back," I said. "I can call it in when I get there." Silence. Then, "You've already passed it." I frowned. "No, I didn't. You did," he said, still calm. "You just didn't see it." I didn't like that. I don't know why exactly, but it raised the hair on my arms. "I'm not turning around," I said. "I'll call it ahead." Static swallowed the channel. I kept driving, telling myself I'd done the right thing. You don't pull over for every stranger at night, no matter how bad you feel, especially not alone. 10 minutes passed, then I saw flashing amber lights ahead again. My stomach tightened. Same setup. Truck on the shoulder. Hazard lights. Hood up. I slowed, heart beating harder now. The trailer looked older this time. Different company logo. Different rig. As I passed, I checked the cab door open. No driver. I didn't stop. The CB came alive immediately. "Why'd you leave?" My grip tightened on the wheel. "You weren't the same truck." "Yes, I was. No, I said, more sharply than I meant to. Different rig. You're tired, he replied. That happens. The road ahead looked wrong. The reflective paint on the lines seemed dull, like it was absorbing light instead of bouncing it back. My headlights didn't feel as strong anymore. I'm not tired, I said, and I'm not stopping. You will, he said. Not threatening, matter, dash of dash fact. I switched the CB off. For a while, nothing happened. The road stayed straight. Signs appeared when they should. Exits lined up with what I remembered. My breathing slowed. Then I noticed my fuel gauge. It had dropped fast, faster than it should have. I checked the miles. The math didn't add up. I reached for my phone. No signal. That's when the engine sputtered. Just a hiccup. Enough to make my chest tighten. Come on, I muttered, easing off the gas. Another sputter. Then smooth again. A mile later, the engine died completely. No warning lights, no drama. Just silence. I coasted to the shoulder, heart hammering, hazards blinking on their own. I turned the key. Nothing. The cold rushed in as the engine stopped. The quiet felt heavy, pressing in on the cab. I sat there, hands shaking, telling myself it was coincidence, bad fuel, electrical issue. Anything. Headlights appeared in my mirror. A truck rolled up behind me and stopped at a careful distance. Hazard lights blinking, same rhythm as before. I didn't turn around. The CB clicked on. C. The voice said, "Told you." I stared straight ahead. "What do you want?" "To help," he said. "That's why we stop." I asked before I could stop myself. He didn't answer right away. Then, "You'll see." The driver's door of the truck behind me opened. I heard boots on pavement, slow steps, unhurried. My passenger side door handle moved, just a little. I grabbed it from the inside and locked it again. Breath coming fast. "I don't need help," I said loudly. "State Patrol will be by eventually." A soft chuckle came through the CB. "They don't use this road anymore." The footsteps stopped outside my cab. I stared at the side mirror. The angle was wrong, but I could see part of him. Tall, heavy jacket. No reflective vest. No flashlight. He leaned down, peering into my window. I kept my eyes forward. "You passed me twice," he said. "That's not how it works." "I didn't do anything," I said. "No," he agreed. "You just kept driving." Something tapped against my door. Not a knock. More like a fingernail dragging lightly over metal. "You don't remember the rules," he said. "What rules?" I asked. "You stop when someone's broken down," he replied. "You help, or you take their place." My mouth went dry. He straightened up, footsteps moving away. I heard a metallic clang. Then another dot. My headlights flickered. I turned the key again. The engine coughed, then started. I didn't think. I threw it into gear and pulled back onto the road. Tires squealing. The truck behind me didn't chase. For a while, I thought I'd made it. The road smoothed out. The lines brightened. My phone buzzed as signal returned. I laughed, a short, shaky sound. Then I saw flashing amber lights ahead. Same setup, truck on the shoulder, hood up. Door open, I screamed and swerved into the left lane, blowing past without slowing. As I did, I saw inside the cab. It was my truck. Same dents. Same sticker on the dash. Same jacket hanging behind the seat. And in the driver's seat, someone sat perfectly still. staring straight ahead. The CB crackled. "Your turn," the voice said. I don't remember the next few minutes clearly. Just road and light and my heart trying to beat its way out of my chest. I took the next exit without checking the sign and didn't stop until dawn. I reported a mechanical issue. Nothing else. They couldn't find anything wrong with the truck. I finished the run during daylight and quit the company a week later. I still drive sometimes. Short trips. Busy roads. Places where help is always visible. But every time I see a truck on the shoulder at night, hood up, door open, I feel my hands tighten on the wheel, and I keep driving, because I know if I stop again, I might not be the one who leaves. I've driven trucks for most of my adult life. Reefer, dry van, flatbed, you name it. The work gets into your bones. You learn how to read weather off the smell of the air. How to tell if a road's going to ice over by the way the steering wheel feels. You also learn that most things have explanations if you give them enough time. That belief carried me through a lot of nights. It didn't carry me through this one. I was running a solo overnight haul from eastern Missouri to western Pennsylvania. Paper products, nothing special. Late November, the kind of cold that isn't dramatic yet, but sinks into you anyway. I'd left St. Louis around 7 p.m., planning to push hard and sleep after dawn. The route took me off the interstate for a long stretch of state highway I didn't usually take. But the GPS swore it would save time. At first it did. The road was empty, clean and dry. Trees pressed in close on both sides, their branches bare and thin like fingers. No towns, no gas stations. Just reflective signs and mile markers ticking by. About an hour in, I noticed my CB radio was already on channel 19. I don't remember turning it on. That by itself didn't bother me. I leave it on sometimes without thinking. What caught my attention was the silence. Channel 19 is never truly quiet. There's always someone complaining about traffic or asking for a scale report. That night, it was dead. Not even static. Like the speaker had been unplugged. I tapped the radio. Nothing. I told myself it was broken and kept driving. Around 10 p.m., I saw headlights ahead. A single vehicle. As I got closer, I realized it was another semi. Old model. Box trailer. No company markings I could see. It was doing about 10 under the limit. I flashed my lights once, letting the driver know I was passing. No response. I swung into the oncoming lane and went by. As I did, I glanced into the cab. The driver sat upright, both hands on the wheel, staring straight ahead. No radio glow, no dash lights, just darkness inside the cab, like the truck was empty except for him. I passed and merged back in a mile later. The CB crackled to life. "Don't pass on this road." The voice was calm, male, middle-aged. No accent I could place. I picked up the mic. "Didn't see your lights, buddy." "All good." Silence. I shrugged it off. Some drivers are touchy about that stuff. I kept my speed steady. 10 minutes later, my headlights caught the same truck ahead of me. Same speed. Same position. I checked my mirrors, then the road behind me, empty. I told myself he must have taken a shortcut or I'd misjudged the distance before. It didn't sit right, but nothing about trucking ever fully does. I slowed down this time and stayed behind him. We drove like that for a while. No passing zones. Long curves. Forest closing in tighter. I noticed something strange about his trailer. No reflectors. Or maybe they were there, but dull, like they didn't want to catch the light. My CB clicked again. You can follow, I frowned. Follow where? A pause. Then, you already are. I didn't respond. The temperature dropped fast after that. Frost crept along the edges of my windshield. The road darkened, my headlights feeling weaker than they should have been. My GPS screen froze, then went black. I reached for my phone. No signal. The truck ahead of me slowed. 10 under, 15. Then almost to a crawl. I tapped my brakes, annoyed now. I considered passing again, but the oncoming lane was pitch black. No sound, just darkness. The CB came alive with static, then his voice, "Don't." My mouth went dry. I watched his trailer carefully. No brake lights, no turn signals, nothing indicating he was slowing. But he was, gradually, deliberately. We crept along until my truck was barely rolling. Then he stopped, right in the middle of the road. I hit my brakes and stopped a few feet back, heart pounding. "What are you doing?" I said into the mic. "You okay?" Nothing. The trees leaned in close, blocking what little moonlight there was. My headlights washed over the back of his trailer, revealing something I hadn't seen before. Words scratched into the metal, deep enough to catch the light. "Stay in line." I swallowed hard. The driver's door of his truck opened. He climbed down slowly, joints stiff, movements careful. He was tall, thin, wearing a dark jacket and a cap pulled low. I couldn't see his face. He walked to the back of his trailer and stood there, hands at his sides, just standing. Minutes passed. I didn't get out of my cab. The CB clicked. "You're early," he said. "For what?" My voice sounded smaller than I wanted. "For learning," he replied. He turned and looked straight at me. Even from that distance, I could tell something was wrong with his eyes. They reflected too much light, like an animal's, but flat, unblinking. "Move your truck," I said. "You're blocking the road." He smiled. "I saw that much." "Road's closed," he said. I leaned on my horn. The sound died immediately. Not echoed, not muffled, just gone, like it had never happened. My dashboard lights flickered. The engine idled rough, then smoothed out again. The man walked back to his cab, climbed in and shut the door. His brake lights came on. He drove forward. Relief hit me hard enough that I laughed. I followed, keeping more distance this time. We drove another 20 minutes. No signs, no exits. The road felt longer than it should have been, stretching unnaturally. Then the smell hit. Rotten meat. Sweet and heavy. It seeped into my cab like it had been waiting for a crack to get through. I gagged and rolled down the window. The smell was stronger outside. Ahead, the truck's trailer door was swinging slightly, banging softly against the frame. The CB crackled. "Cargo check," the man said. He slowed again. I didn't stop this time. I passed him, heart hammering, not caring about the rules or the dark dot as I drew alongside. I glanced into his trailer. It was empty. No pallets, no boxes, just scrape marks on the floor, deep grooves, and handprints on the walls, smeared and layered, like dozens of people had pressed themselves against the metal from the inside. I floored it. The truck fell behind. For a while, the road finally opened up. A sign appeared, faded but readable. A town name I recognized. Relief flooded through me. I pulled into the first truck stop I saw, tires crunching on gravel, lights blazing like a beacon. I parked crooked and jumped out, legs shaking. Inside, the place was quiet but normal. A cashier, a couple of drivers at a table, coffee brewing. I went straight to the counter. "Did you see another truck pull in behind me?" The cashier looked confused. "No, sir." I stood there, breathing hard, waiting. Nothing happened. I stayed until morning. When I checked my truck in daylight, there was a new scratch on the side of my trailer, for words, carved deep into the metal. "Stay in line." I quit long haul a month later. I still drive local sometimes. Daylight runs, short distances, and I don't use the CB anymore, because every now and then, when I'm alone on a quiet road, I'll hear it click on by itself, and a calm voice will say, "You're learning." I don't answer. I just keep my eyes on the road and hope I never see that truck again. I've been driving long haul for almost 12 years now. If you do anything that long, you stop noticing the things that used to feel strange. Sleeping in a cab, eating at 2 a.m., listening to weather reports like they're personal messages. You get used to the quiet tooth, the kind of quiet that only exists on highways after midnight, when the road feels like it belongs to you alone. That night started normal enough that I remember it clearly, which is unusual. Most runs blur together. I was hauling refrigerated produce from southern Arizona up toward Colorado. Late October, clear skies, cold air once you climbed in elevation. I'd done that route dozens of times. I knew which truck stops had clean showers, which ones had decent coffee, which ones to avoid. I left Tucson just after sunset. The radio crackled in and out as I headed north. Nothing but country stations and static. Somewhere past Benson, I remember thinking it felt quieter than usual. Not peaceful, just thin, like sound wasn't carrying the way it should. I chalked it up to the weather and kept driving. Around 11 p.m., I saw a sign for a small rest area I didn't remember. No logo, no chain name, just reflective lettering and a right turn arrow. I wasn't tired enough to stop, but my fuel gauge was lower than I liked, and I figured I'd stretch my legs anyway. The exit ramp curved off into darkness. My headlights picked up cracked pavement, weeds pushing through seams, and a chain-link fence running alongside the road. No lights ahead. That should have been my first clue, but I'd pulled into plenty of underfunded rest areas before. The parking lot was wide and mostly empty. One other rig sat near the far edge, engine off. No cars, no movement. I parked a few spaces away, cut the engine, and stepped down from the cab. The air was cold and dry, no wind, no insects. I stood there for a second, listening. Usually you hear something, traffic hum, tires in the distance, even coyotes. That night, there was nothing. I remember thinking how clean it smelled, not like pine or desert, just neutral, like a room after it's been aired out. I walked toward the restroom building. It was concrete, squat, with dark windows and a metal door propped open by a rock. Inside, the lights flickered but stayed on. Everything looked maintained, too maintained. No graffiti, no trash, no broken fixtures. It felt more like a place waiting to be used than one that actually was. I used the restroom, washed my hands, and noticed there were no mirrors, just blank metal above the sinks. That struck me as odd, but not enough to make me uneasy. Some places remove mirrors to prevent vandalism. When I walked back outside, I noticed the other truck's cab light was on. I hadn't seen that before. A silhouette sat in the driver's seat, perfectly still. I gave a small wave out of habit. The silhouette didn't move. I told myself the driver was asleep with the light on and headed back to my rig. Climbed up, checked my phone. No signal, not unusual out there. I sat for a minute longer than I planned, scrolling through old messages, letting the cab warm back up. That's when I heard the first sound. A knock, not loud, just a dull tap against the passenger side door, like someone knocking with their knuckles but holding back. I leaned over and looked out the window. Nobody there, another knock, same spot, same pressure. I cracked the window and called out, "Yeah." No answer. I told myself it was someone brushing past, or a piece of debris hitting the door. I rolled the window back up and reached for the ignition. The knock came again, this time followed by a slow drag, like fingers sliding across metal. That's when I saw the shadow. It stretched across the ground outside the passenger door, long and narrow, but I couldn't see where it came from. No body, no feet, just the shadow, steady, unmoving. I didn't open the door. I started the engine. The shadow didn't move. I put the truck in gear and eased forward. As soon as the wheels rolled, the shadow disappeared, like it had never been there. I didn't stop to think. I drove straight out of the lot and back onto the highway, heart thumping harder than I wanted to admit. I laughed to myself, trying to shake it off. Late night, tired brain, weird lighting. 10 minutes later, I checked my mirrors. The same truck was behind me. At first, I thought it was coincidence. Same model, same color. Not unusual, but the distance didn't change. No matter how fast I went or how much I slowed, it stayed exactly the same length back. Headlights steady. No brights. I told myself it was a driver pacing me. Some guys do that without thinking. It went on for miles. Then my radio clicked on, not static, a voice. "Still with you." I grabbed the mic. "Who's this?" Silence. The radio clicked off. I checked the channel, same one I always used. I hadn't touched it. The truck stayed behind me. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe the driver was messing around. Maybe I imagined the voice. Maybe I was more tired than I thought. An hour passed. The road narrowed, fewer signs, fewer exits. My GPS showed me on the right route, but the landmarks didn't match my memory. I should have seen a way station by then. I didn't. I reached for my phone again. Still no signal. The fuel gauge dropped faster than it should have. That's when I noticed something else. The mile markers weren't changing. I passed the same number 3 times. I slowed down, watching carefully. The next marker came up, same number. I said it out loud. That's not possible. The truck behind me tapped its brakes. Just once, like acknowledgement. My chest tightened. I told myself there had to be a logical explanation. Damaged signs, GPS error, long stretch of identical road. Then I saw headlights ahead. A truck stop, relief washed over me. Bright lights, rows of pumps, a diner sign glowing in the dark. I signaled and pulled in, rolling to a stop by the fuel island. The other truck pulled in behind me. I didn't turn off my engine. I grabbed my phone, jumped down from the cab, and walked fast toward the building. I wanted people around, noise. Normal inside. The diner looked busy. A few drivers at the counter. Coffee cups, plates clinking. A TV playing the weather channel. I sat down hard at the counter. The waitress looked at me and paused. "You okay, hon?" I nodded too fast. "Yeah. Just need coffee." She poured it without asking. I glanced toward the windows, expecting to see the other truck parked outside. The lot was empty. I asked one of the guys next to me, "Did you see a rig pulling behind me?" He frowned. "Been sitting here a while." "You came in alone?" I finished the coffee in a few gulps and paid. I asked the waitress where we were. She named a town that didn't make sense. Too far north. I would have needed another 3 hours to get there. I walked back outside. My truck was right where I'd left it. Engine still running. The fuel gauge was lower. I got back on the highway, telling myself I'd driven farther than I thought. Maybe adrenaline warped my sense of time. 10 minutes later, I checked my mirrors. The truck was back, same distance, same lights. I didn't feel fear anymore. I felt watched, studied, like I was part of a routine I didn't understand. The radio clicked on again. "Don't stop here." My hands were shaking now. "What do you want?" Static. Then, faintly, "You already did." The road narrowed further. Trees closed in on both sides, blocking the sky. My headlights barely cut through the darkness. I tried to turn around. There was no shoulder, no exit, just road. I slammed the brakes. The truck behind me stopped too perfectly, without honking or swerving. I sat there, engine idling, breathing hard. The cab light in the truck behind me came on. A silhouette sat inside, perfectly still. Then the passenger door of my truck unlocked. I hadn't touched it. The handle rattled once, gently. I don't remember deciding to run. I just did. I floored it. The engine roared, tires screaming as I surged forward. The road opened suddenly. Lights ahead. Another truck stop. I didn't slow down. I pulled in, parked, crooked, and shut everything off. The silence hit immediately. No dyno noise, no engines, no lights. The building was dark, abandoned, windows boarded up. I stumbled back into my cab and locked the doors. The other truck rolled in and stopped directly behind me. Its engine cut. The cab light came on. The silhouette moved for the first time, leaning forward. The radio crackled. I covered my ears and squeezed my eyes shut. When I opened them, the lot was empty. Morning came slow, grey light creeping over the horizon. Birds started up like nothing had happened. I drove out as soon as I could see. The road returned to normal. Signs made sense. My phone had signal. The fuel gauge was where it should have been hours earlier. I reported none of it. I still drive, same routes, same nights, but I don't stop at unmarked rest areas anymore. And if a truck paces me too long after midnight, I pull off at the first place with people and stay there until morning. Because sometimes, late at night, my radio still clicks on by itself, and I never answer.